On the 22nd of November 2002, as I looked up into the heavens, the Lord showed me 3 men or persons that will deceive the whole world. I heard the Lord also said, on his throne where Satan lives. Then I saw the 3 persons. I saw one standing towards the left. He had a long garment on, and behind his head was something like a raised up back, like that which the Pope always wear. And he resembled the leader of the Roman Catholic Church, the Pope. Then standing towards his right, I heard one, and I saw the hat of a sorcerer. And this one resembled also a false prophet. Then standing between these 2 was a beast, having the head of a boar and the legs of a man, just like the ancient god Pan had. What Yeshua had really shown us is how the false prophet, the beast coming up out of the land, and this image of the beast will work together to deceive the whole world in order to bow down before the beast. And Yeshua also reveals who the God of these people are. It is no one else but the God of Pan, who is Satan himself, just masked behind ancient paganism. Yeshua revealed how these will deceive the whole world. Very recently, a prophet arose, starting to deceive the world, whom Yeshua actually called a wizard. Very recently in the news, a false prophet has arisen as if from the dead, speaking from hundreds of years ago, and that prophet is known as Nostradamus. We see how, according to different quatrains or verses in Nostradamus' prophecies that he made hundreds of years ago, many have started to conclude that he has actually prophesied the future, and that which he has said would come to pass has come to pass. And many will start to be deceived by this wizard of old. This same wizard will prophesy and deceive men because he himself does not worship Yeshua, neither does he refer the people to Yeshua, but refers them to another god, a god of alchemy. He himself using occultic methods in order to get his revelations. Many people will follow him and believe that all religions still leads to God. A man who made seemingly accurate prophecies are nothing but a sorcerer, and is teaching rebellion against Yahweh and the name of Yeshua, throwing many into doubt and confusion due to their ignorance, making people worship other gods or another god. Yeshua had shown us how the last part or the last hour in which the beast will rule, where all nations will have to bow down to the image of the beast, consists out of a upside down triangle of relationship between the Antichrist, the false prophet, and the dragon or Satan. In order for us to understand the difference between a true prophet and a false prophet, in the book of Deuteronomy, Yahweh had given a definition in order for us to understand or discern who is a true prophet and who is a false prophet. In Deuteronomy 13 verse 1 he says, "If a prophet arises among you, or a dreamer of dreams, and give you a sign or a wonder, and the sign or the wonder he foretells to you comes to pass, and if he says, 'Let us go after other gods you have not known, and let us serve them,' you shall not listen to the words of that prophet or of that dreamer of dreams. For the Lord your God is testing you to know whether you love the Lord your God with all your mind and heart and with your entire being. You shall walk after the Lord your God and reverently fear him, keep his commandments and obey his voice. And you shall serve him and cling to him. But that prophet or that dreamer of dreams shall be put to death, because he has talked rebellion and turning away from the Lord your God, who brought you out of the land of Egypt and redeemed you out of the house of bondage. That man has tried to draw you aside from the way in which the Lord your God commanded you to walk. So you shall put the evil away from your midst." Here is a test that Yahweh gives us in order to find out whether a person who are prophesying is a true prophet or a false prophet. He says, if this dreamer or prophet arise and he prophesies something that does come to pass. Often when a prophet prophesies something that comes to pass, we immediately say, "See, he's a true prophet." But Yahweh gives us another prerequisite. After he has said, "Let us, this is the prophecy and this is what's going to come to pass," and it does come to pass, then he might turn and say, "Let us follow other gods you have not known, and let us serve them. Then you shall not listen to the words of that prophet or the dreamer of dreams." So if a prophet will rise and prophesy something will come to pass, and it does come to pass, then continue and say something else to worship other gods, you must not bow down to him. The very fact that a prophet prophesies the truth and it does come to pass, in a way, is still not the final test. The final test is, just as the Torah has given us, the 10 Commandments, God says, "You shall bow down and worship no other God. You shall make no image or anything in heaven or on earth or under the earth of God, and bow down to them." Yahweh says, if they do this, they have actually started to talk and teach rebellion against God. And God will allow a false prophet to prophesy something that it will come to pass in order to test the hearts of those who follow him, in order to see if they are true followers of Yahweh or not. The reason we are looking at this, we know that a beast will come up out of the land, and he will deceive the whole world and cause the world to go after the beast, prophesying things, doing great miracles, signs and wonders, even calling down fire from the heavens. Many people will say, "But this must be a true prophet," and therefore will still be deceived in worshipping another God which is not Yahweh. When you come into the land which the Lord your God gives you, you shall not learn to follow the abominable practices of these nations. There shall not be found among you anyone who makes his son or daughter pass through the fire, who uses divination, or is a soothsayer, or a ogre, or a sorcerer, or a charmer, or a medium, or a wizard, or a necromancer. All who do these things are an abomination to the Lord. And it is because of these abominable practices that the Lord your God is driving them out before you. You shall be blameless and absolutely true to the Lord your God. For these nations whom you shall dispossess, listen to soothsayers and diviners. But as for you, the Lord your God has not allowed you to do so. The Lord your God will raise up for you a prophet from the midst of your brethren, like me, Moses, and to him you shall listen. Yahweh said to his people that they are not to bow down to any god, and any person whom they come into the land who does any of these things. They make their children pass through the fire to the god Molech, or the god of fire, or uses divination or soothsaying. Divination is to cast bones, or to read a teacup, or to do any other kind of foretelling using a method which we know in the case of Nostradamus that he used alchemy. And he then therefore is nothing else but a sorcerer or a wizard. Yeshua says that he will drive out all those who does these kind of things. But he says, but they must not listen to them. He will raise up for them another prophet, just like Moses. And we know that Yeshua had fulfilled that prophecy. But in the last days, he will prepare his people through the Elijah who is to come, so that no one will be able to go through the curse. Or just as Malachi said, lest you be cursed. He's coming to turn the hearts of the fathers to the children, and the hearts of the children to their fathers. The angel revealed to John in his vision that he saw of a woman sitting on many waters, what the many waters actually are. And many of those who listen to this CD must also realize what the many waters are, so that they would not be deceived. It says, and the angel further said to me, the waters that you have observed where the harlot is seated are races, multitudes, nations, dialects, and languages. Yeshua reveals to Daniel and also to the Apostle John that many nations, many kings, and all, whether rich or slave, poor or free, all of them will be deceived to bow down before the false prophets. And they will be deceived by the harlot, who will teach them a religion which seems peace-loving, but behind the scenes it is a ferocious wolf, desiring to tear its prey to pieces. Making use and trusting in the prophecies of Nostradamus, which is nothing else but sorcery, deceiving the whole world, because they say, but look, he prophesied a prophecy that did come to pass. The nations and the races and multitudes and dialects will be deceived. It was revealed to John that this woman or harlot, known as the mystery, with a mystery name called Babylon, which we have already seen is actually the religious system deceiving the whole world, making them to bow down before the beast. We see in Revelation 17:2 that the angel revealed to John, saying, she with whom the rulers of the earth have joined in prostitution and idolatry, and with the wine of whose immorality and idolatry the inhabitants of the earth have become intoxicated. So many people are saying that the Pope is a good man and he is promoting peace, and they are being deceived. They are deceived not only by his beautiful words of peace, but also by that which he worships. He worships none other but the ancient religion of Babylon, which is called paganism, where we have Nimrod as the sun god, Semiramis, the mother goddess or the queen of heaven, which became the Mother Mary in the pictures, and their son that was born, Tammuz, who became the moon god or Astarte. In Revelation 17:4 it says, "The woman was robed in purple and scarlet and bedecked with gold, precious stones and pearls. And she was holding in her hand a golden cup full of the accused offenses and the filth of her lewdness and vice." All throughout the ages, the Roman Catholic Church has persecuted those who worshipped Yeshua. And she had made all the kings of the earth bow down and do her bidding, fulfilling her desire to persecute those whom she hated. And on her forehead there was an inscribed name of mystery with a secret symbolic meaning: Babylon the Great, the mother of prostitutes, and of the filth and the atrocities and the abominations of the earth. All throughout history, she has changed many times and laws, and we will see in the next seminar what Yeshua's times and seasons actually are. She has committed many atrocities, killing many people and putting them to death as heretics for not wanting to accept Roman Catholicism. I also saw that the woman was drunk with the blood of the saints, God's people, and the blood of the martyrs who witnessed for Yeshua. And when I saw her, I was utterly amazed and wondered greatly. Here, John himself was in total amazement, and he was in wonder at how it was possible for so many people to be so deceived, and how she had succeeded in killing so many people, becoming a killing machine, destroying all those who were in her way. In verse 18 it says, "And the woman that you saw is herself a great city, which dominates and controls the rulers and the leaders of the earth." We see that she will control the leaders of the earth, and she will make them do what she desires of them, and she will dominate them. All the leaders of the earth will prostitute themselves and go into agreement with her, thinking that she is a lamb, when all the time the dragon is sitting right behind her, ready to tear and destroy all who will oppose her authority. All throughout history, the Roman Catholic Church has persecuted many who have stood in her way. And this persecution became known as the Inquisition. The term Inquisition can apply to any one of several institutions which fought against heretics or other offenders against canon law within the justice system of the Roman Catholic Church. The term Inquisition is usually applied to that of the Catholic Church. It may also refer to an ecclesiastical tribunal, the institution of the Catholic Church for combating heresy, a number of historical expurgation movements against the heresy, or the orchestrated by some groups or individuals within the Catholic Church or within a Catholic state. And then it's also a trial of an individual accused of heresy. Generally, the Inquisition movement was concerned only with the heretical behavior of Catholic adherents or converts, and did not concern itself with those outside its jurisdiction, such as Jews or Muslims. The Inquisition was started by the Roman Catholic Church and had the purpose of bringing the offender who would not accept their religion or the so-called canon law of the Roman Catholicism, bring them to repentance. And they used very gruesome methods in order to try to bring an offender, which was known as a heretic, back in line with what they desire him to follow or worship. It's also very important to see that in the beginning they say that it was basically an inquisition only for their own people who backslid, and they wanted to bring them back. And they did not touch any of those outside of their own jurisdiction. But this is not the real truth. What really happened was they would persecute any man, woman, organization, or even state, and bring them under the power of the Inquisition, giving them the right to bring them back into line. Before the 12th century, the Catholic Church already suppressed heresy, usually through a system of ecclesiastical proscription or imprisonment, but without using torture, and seldom resorting to executions. Such punishment had a number of ecclesiastical opponents, although some countries punished heresy with the death penalty. The specific article here used say that originally they did not torture their victims, but later they became a gruesome machine of torture and finally executing those who refused to recant and repent and become a Catholic. In the 12th century, to counter the spread of Catholicism, persecution of heretics by secular governments became more frequent. The Church charged council, composed of bishops and archbishops, with establishing inquisitions. The first inquisition was established in Languedoc, south of France, 1184 AD. We see that they started to persecute those who would not accept them, and they set up a council consisting out of bishops and archbishops, establishing an inquisition who made an inquiry into what they considered what was heretical behavior. In the 13th century, Pope Gregory IX assigned the duty of carrying out inquisitions to the Mission Order. They used inquisitorial procedure, a legal practice common at that time. They judged heresy alone, using the local authorities to establish a tribunal and to persecute heretics. So what we see here is that in the end the Roman Catholic Church did not themselves do the punishment against the person or the state or the organization that they considered as heretics, but rather leaving it to the local authorities to establish a tribunal and thus prosecute the heretic. After the end of the 12th century, a Grand Inquisitor headed each inquisition. Grand Inquisitioners persisted until the 19th century. We can see that the Inquisition has actually never stopped. It has only gone underground. we will see in the next how the Inquisition actually are still existing, but only have changed name and form. By the start of the 16th century, the Catholic Church had reached an apparently dominant position as the established religious authority in the Western and Central Europe, dominating a faith landscape in which Judaism, Waldenism, Hustanism, and Lollardry, and the finally conquered Muslim Al-Andalus, or the Muslim-dominated Spain, hardly figured in terms of numbers or of influence. So we see that from the 16th century, the Catholic Church's authority had spread and had advanced to such a degree that all other religions or other religious organizations or institutions or states that were in their way were completely trampled down and persecuted and removed, so that there remained nothing of them, neither Christian nor Muslim. When the institutions of the Church felt themselves threatened by what they perceived as a heresy, and then schismanism of the Protestant Reformation, they reacted. We see here that the Protestant movement had caused them to become threatened, and they perceived it as a heresy, and that gave them, according to them, the power and the reason to create an inquisition in order to remove these so-called heretics and heresy that was spread. Paul III, which was a pope from 1534 to 1549, established a system of tribunals administered by the Supreme Sacred Congregation of the Universal Inquisition, and it was staffed by cardinals and other church officials. This system later became known as the Roman Inquisition. In 1908, Pope St. Pius X renamed the organization, and it became known as the Supreme Sacred Congregation of the Holy Office. This in its turn became again the Congregation of the Doctrine of the Faith in 1965, which has the same name that continue up until today. So we see that the Inquisition, which was known as the Supreme Sacred Congregation of the Universal Inquisition, had its name changed, which was the original Roman Inquisition, and after having its name changed, now it's today known as the Congregation of the Doctrine of the Faith. Thus we see that the Inquisition was never done away with. It only had a name change, and it was only given a facelift. On the 22nd of March 2002, during the 40-day fast, Yeshua one day showed us a sign in the heaven, which was very gruesome. Yeshua revealed to me how the beast will control the whole world, and through the power of the Illuminati and the secret societies, he will spy on men and nations, making use of the technology of the stealth bomber and the capability that he will have to be able to control men. And as we have already seen, will also insert some kind of a chip or a mark into their forehead or their right hand, so that they would not be able to buy or sell, and he would also be able to trace them and know exactly where they are on the earth. But if any man would oppose him, they would be executed. The sign that we saw was a sign of a man that was beheaded that appeared in the sky. And we also saw a large guillotine that appeared in the heavens. The guillotine is a device used for carrying out executions by decapitation. It consists of a tall upright frame from which the blade is suspended. This blade is raised with a rope and then allowed to drop, severing the head from the body. The device is noted for long being the main method of execution in France, where it was invented, and more particularly for its use during the French Revolution, where it became a part of the popular culture and celebrated as the people's avenger by supporters of the revolution, and vilified as the preeminent symbol of the reign of terror by opponents. Nevertheless, the guillotine continued to be in use long after the French Revolution in several countries, including France, where it was the sole method of execution until the abolishing of capital punishment in 1981. YHWH revealed a certain instrument, the guillotine, which was used to behead people, and a reign of terror had started in France and became synonymous with the French Revolution. All the enemies of the French Revolution were simply decapitated. But this is also very important, putting two important things together. First of all, we have seen how the Inquisition will punish all who will stand against them. Here YHWH shows the way that the punishment was done in that time, and how through the political power they used the authority of Napoleon Bonaparte to put to death those whom they considered as heretics. And two, we see how Napoleon Bonaparte is a type of the Antichrist that is to come, who will, together with the beast coming up out of the land, will put to death all those who will not bow down to their policy. During the period from June 1793 to July 1794 in France, it was known as the Reign of Terror, or simply the Terror. The upheaval following the overthrow of the monarchy, invasion by foreign monarchs, powers, and the revolt of Vendée combined to throw the nation into chaos and the government into a frenzied paranoia. Most of the democratic reforms of the revolution were at that time suspended, and large-scale executions by guillotine began. Maximilian Robespierre became one of the most powerful men in the government and the figure most associated with this terror. The Revolutionary Tribunal sentenced thousands to the guillotine. Nobility and commoners, intellectuals, politicians, prostitutes, and all that were liable to be executed on little or no grounds. Suspicion of crime against liberty was enough to earn one an appointment with Madame Guillotine, or the National Razor. The estimated amount of deaths and the death toll ranged between 16,000 and 40,000 people that was decapitated. What this article does not say is how many people were actually killed and put to death because of their religion, because they would not bow their knee to the Roman Catholic Church and would not accept Roman Catholicism. The Roman Catholic Church used Napoleon Bonaparte at that time to put to death all those who were they considered as heretics. The Congregation of the Doctrine of the Faith, previously known as the Supreme Sacred Congregation of the Roman and Universal Inquisition, which whose name the Roman Inquisition or the Holy Inquisition popularly used in reference in the 16th century tribunals against witchcraft and heresy, and after 1904 called the Supreme Sacred Congregation of the Holy Office, is the oldest of the 9 congregations of the Roman Curia. Among the most active of the congregations, it oversees Catholic Church doctrine. Its offices are housed at the Palace of the Holy Office at the Vatican. We can clearly see, although the Inquisition or the Roman Inquisition had a name change, becoming the Congregation of the Doctrine of the Faith, it is still situated in the Holy Palace in the Vatican, and it's also known as the oldest of the congregations of the Roman Curia, or all the Roman institutions, and it still oversees the Roman Catholic doctrine. What we really are saying is that there are still laws for inquisition against those who break the so-called Roman Catholic doctrine, and if they are broken from within or from without, they are liable, or there is a possibility that they can be brought before a tribunal and treated as witchcraft and heresy. The extirpation of heretics became a much broader and more complex enterprise, complicated by the politics of territorial Protestant powers, especially in Northern Europe. The Catholic Church could no longer exercise direct influence in the politics and the justice systems of lands which officially adopted Protestantism. So we see that the Roman Catholic Church actually desired to control not only certain individuals, but also territories, kings, lands and states and countries. And if they are Protestant, they also can stand under the Inquisition as heretics, and they could be punished by death. What we have seen earlier, what Yeshua had revealed to us, is how Hitler was used by the Roman Catholic Church in order to fulfill their Inquisition's work, in order to break the power of the Protestant movement in Europe and destroy any Judaism that had set itself up against Roman Catholicism. Thus the French Wars of Religion, the 30-Year War, the massacre, and the St. Bartholomew Day massacre, and the educational and propaganda work of the Counter-Reformation came to play larger roles in these circumstances. We see that they have also caused wars and revolutions, trying to bring a counter-reformation in order to overthrow any other religion that does not submit or accept or comply to that which they see as canon law. We've already told you how Yeshua had revealed to us how in the last days they would set up an image standing on 2 legs, having been given the heart of a man. This system will be led by the authorities, but behind the scenes the Roman Catholic Church would exert full power, using the Inquisition to put to death all those whom they consider as heretics. Although now it says the Inquisition tribunals only function in Catholic territories, but secular law in both Catholic and Protestant countries could address the criminal offences of heresy and witchcraft. This article actually is saying that even though by now it does not do these atrocities that the Inquisition had done in the past, torturing people so that they would recant, but it now only functions to punish or discipline those in the Roman Catholic Church who backslide or break very important Catholic rules. We see how priests have been prosecuted because of having committed adultery or committing bestial activities with children. This is only to make the Roman Catholic Church look like it is a lawful organization doing what is godly and according to Scripture. But in reality, it says here that the secular law of both Catholic and Protestant countries could still address criminal offences which they consider as heresy and witchcraft.